Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe. Be my guest, be my guest, be my guest with Sean Boy Joe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Be My Guest podcast channel with me, your boy, Sean Boy Joe, where I chat to blasts from the past in a podcast. And in this series, it's something I like to call Celebrity Playground. And there's a reason for that, because our guests have something in common. Now, today I am joined by two iconic stars of children's television who, as you can see, have a lot of merchandise that they've collected over the years. I'm going to leave it down to my guests to introduce themselves.
Hello, it's me first. I'm Colleen Daley, and I voiced the character Fizz from the Tweenies. And I did a bit of puppeteering as well when there were puppet versions that were on location. And also the Tweenie heads were actually operated by way of animatronics. So we were trained in animatronics, the guys that did Babe, that sorted out the animatronics for Babe, for instance, and 101 Dalmatians. So that was very exciting, but yeah, amazing to do the voice of Fizz. That's me.
Well, my name is Ronnie Le Drew, and I'm a puppeteer working all sorts of different puppets, but probably most famous for the one that's sort of sitting behind me, Zippy from Rainbow. But I've worked on Sooty and Sweep, and I've worked on many Jim Henson films. Anyway, enough about me, over to Sean.
So, not only do you both have something in common that you worked on iconic children's television programs, and not only do you have a lot of stuff that you're going to show us, but Colleen, you have a very unusual connection to Ronnie, don't you?
I do have a connection to you. Because, okay, let me read my notes so I remember. In July 1996, I was a young actress looking for work. I answered an ad in the Stage newspaper who were looking for an ensemble of actors to tour with the show Rainbow Days in Nursery Rhyme Land. So I wrote off handwritten letter with my photograph in and a stamped addressed envelope. And by way of my stamped addressed envelope, I got invited to audition. And Andrew Thomas was there and Liz Kitchen. Mm-hmm. And I had to prepare a song. You know, you have a friend, which they sent the backing track to, a tape on tape. And then I had to perform my own song and a speech. And I really got lucky, so I got the part. So and then and it was so exciting. And actually we met Rod, Jane, and Freddie in the early rehearsals. And again, you know, we all grew up watching Rainbow, so we were very excited to meet them. And yeah, so and I've got I'm drinking water out of my Rainbow mug, which was part of the merchandise that was on sale. So yeah, so that's our very yeah.
Oh, well, how nice. That was lovely.
From that came Tweenies, because I met Liz Kitchen and got on very well with her, and then I was doing pantomime at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry, and the producers were playing Ugly Sisters actually, and they knew that I did voices, and they invited me to audition, but Liz was definitely really crucial in that as well, because she was really championing me. So yeah, but certainly I loved watching Rainbow. I mean, it was one of my favourite childhood programmes, and I think that's probably what inspired me to do voices, because the voices were so distinct that I would impersonate them as a child, and you know. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to be.
Oh, well, thank you very much. It's a delight to meet you too. I had no idea of your connection with Rainbow, yes, so that's wonderful. Yeah.
Dale, I don't know if you ever met Dale Superville. He was the presenter on.
Yeah,
the
it's a
news.
shame I haven't seen Dale for a long time, actually. It'd be lovely to see him again, but he was lovely. Yeah.
Wow, well he's my neighbour. He lives in...
Oh, lovely. Well, please send him my love. And I do remember him. And we had a great time doing our rainbow programs together. So
I will.
Thank you.
I will say hello to him from you.
Yeah. Lovely.
You worked on the Rainbow Days series with Dale Superville, didn't you, Ronnie?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I mean, basically what happened was the original rainbow programs that were made at Teddington, for Thames Television. And sadly, they lost their franchise in 1992. And then there was a break, but the head of children's department, he had bought the rights, the brand, if you like, of Rainbow, and set up his own company. Well, in fact, I think he may have set up his company beforehand, but anyway, called Tetra Films. And I went across to his offices, funny enough, in Tottenham Court Road, and I had to audition. It was very funny. I came in with a Zippy puppet and a George puppet. I know it is weird, but that's how it was. In a way, I was glad in a way that I did, because there was about 6 people waiting. I did feel sorry for them, because I'm sitting there with these big bags full of, because he's quite a big puppet, of puppets, and they were wondering what was inside, and I sort of got one ready to come and went, oh, he's the man who did it, because obviously my face isn't well known.
So they wouldn't have known.
Yeah, so I went in, and the direct producer of the program was a man called Paul Cole. And he I
know Paul, because he directed on Tweenies.
Of course he did. He's done so much, hasn't he, Paul? Anyway, he said, so, love, well, obviously you're going to be all right with the puppet because you've been doing it for years, but, how to do some voice stuff. So I sort of did my and he went, oh, right, okay, that's lovely. Well, I have got 5 or 6 other people, but honestly, Ronnie, that sounds wonderful or something. Anyway, I went away, don't call us, we'll call you, the usual. And anyway, eventually, I think after 3 or 4 days, I can't remember, the phone call came and Paul said, yes, we'd love to use you. And at the time, of course, I hadn't met Dale or any of the other performers, because they were all new apart from me. There was Craig Crane, who did George puppet. In fact, the puppets were slightly different as well. They in fact, the same puppet maker, John Thurtle, had made the Zippy and George puppets for Thames. But I think with Alan Horrocks, who was the head of, Tetra, I think he wanted to have it's a new program. He wanted maybe to have some changes with the puppet. And so Zippy had slightly bigger eyes. Well, they were movable eyes, actually, a little bit.
Scary, to be honest.
I mean, it was a bit strange. And then they were worked like the Muppet style. So you put your hand up and then you put your other hand, but they had shoulders which were joined. So I couldn't do all the same movement that I used to do with Zippy originally. So, and it was very funny. I hadn't really thought about that until we started filming. And I thought, I can't touch my head because you'll see all my arm coming up. So I had to sort of do slightly different things. But yeah, absolutely. But we did. I think we did about 3 series of Rainbow Days. Totally. And we had a video, because in those days a video came out with quite a few of the programs. And then there was a video of the next one, which was there was a break, I think, and then they decided to have one called. In fact, Rainbow Days was just puppets. Sorry, Rainbow was when Dale came in, and that was the second lot, and that was basically with Back to the Rainbow House, or their version of the Rainbow House, with Zippy and George appearing at the window, and we used to appear behind the sofa, and Bungle came in, and Dale was there with his guitar singing, and it was really cheerful and fun. Brilliant. So all great fun to do. And obviously the budget was very different from the budget that Thames Television had. So, but anyway, it probably wasn't the most successful of all the Rainbow, because everyone remembers the Thames ones more than which is fair enough. They were on longer, and there was more of a sort of a length of time that they were shown. But it was all I loved it. I was so lucky.
I mean, it's incredible, Ronnie, that I was born a year after Rainbow finished, and yet I still preferred all of the original Rainbow episodes, because they were constantly repeated on cable and you had all the videos. But then I'm thankful, because the first time I was really introduced to you as a performer, a voice actor, was in Rainbow when they had the Rainbow toy shop, and then obviously later Rainbow Days with Dale. But so yeah, that was my first introduction to you. But I find it incredible, Ronnie, that you had to audition for a part that you'd already played for many years before.
Well,
Incredible.
I think they were being polite. I mean, when I arrived, as I say, there was about 4 or 5 other people sitting there, obviously hoping. I mean, it's just like actors, you know, your work is, you have to go along. Yeah, and that's right. And so, and I think, I don't know, obviously they knew, Alan knew me because of his being head of children's at Thames, but it was, I don't know, I'm glad, I feel for the others, I was glad that I was, you know, I did audition properly. In fact, it was good. I'm going to quickly, promote my book suddenly. Sorry, it suddenly comes up, I don't know. Anyway, in there, I say the story that, in fact, some of the original Rainbow cast were quite upset that they weren't included in the new, reboot of Rainbow, let's put it that way.
And basically, that's a funny story.
Yeah, well, basically, they thought I think it was Alan who'd got the rights, but got the rights for the puppets. And when you have human characters, it's a bit more expensive because they were, for his company. I don't know exactly whether that is true, but I feel that was true. And so they tried it out originally with just the puppets. So you had Bungle, as an actor, but as a bear, not shown. And then, of course, you had Zippy and George. And then you had a strange rabbit character, Cleo, came in the original, which sadly didn't last too long. I mean, it was a bit of a sort of new... She was a customer in the shop, actually. I mean, she sort of came in.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, there you go. But I think that was the reason.
Or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Jeffrey, sadly, and Roy, and not so much Malcolm, but these are the artists in the program. Jeffrey was a bit upset, obviously, because he'd done Rainbow forever, and then suddenly a new Rainbow. Why not present? And I did some stuff. This is way back after the series was finished, and we did stuff for student unions and stuff like that. And I was about to meet Jeffrey after I hadn't met Jeffrey for ages, and Malcolm rang me up and said, "Now, Ronnie, you might find that Jeffrey might be a little bit upset when he meets you. Might be a bit cold." And I thought, "Oh, right, okay." Anyway, I went along. I went into the dressing room, as you do, you're meeting up, and Jeffrey said, "Hello." And I, "Oh, hi, Jeff." I think, "Oh dear," Anyway, I went over and I said, "Look, Jeff, can I I know what this is all about." And I explained that, I had to audition. It wasn't a sort of clear-cut thing that I was just picked. I think there were some press notices which were a bit iffy. They said, there was only the one puppeteer from the original series that was taken and all this. And I think maybe Jeff and others thought, oh, well, he just phoned up the director or said, "Look, I've been doing this." I don't know. But anyway, he was perfectly happy afterwards. Thank goodness. I'm so glad I had a word with him. And as I say in the book, it's smoothed over, because we'd never really rowed or had anything like that in the whole of the Rainbow thing. I think one of the joys of the series was the fact that we all got on so well and worked well together, that the whole thing was such a success. Anyway, it was fine. It didn't, I'm glad I sort of had the guts to say, "Oi, really Jeffrey." Yeah, anyway, it was all fine.
The student union things must have been fun, because we
amazing.
Remember when we were doing Rainbow, the show, because it was a short #1 tour, so we was going to #1 venues, and we had students.
Right.
It's that cult following kind of thing, the same with Play Days, which I went on to do after, but Rainbow Days, the show that we were doing, I remember being at the Theatre Royal in Lincoln, and all these students being there, and it was fun. It was good, So,
they were very different. Great fun. I mean, one didn't start till about sort of just after midnight or something. And of course, I'm going to say, they used to like to have a little drink or three.
Of course.
And so they were quite giggly by the time. And we were doing a sort of disco, Zippy and George's disco. We had sort of records, and they had it was all 70s, 80s sort of music going on. And Zippy was, we had fake cans on, you know,
Yeah.
on our ears and all this.
Yeah.
And they absolutely adored it. And we used to appear with our backs to the audience, coming up like this, and then turn round, and the whole audience, you know,
Yeah.
it was
that's
very
so
funny.
I didn't know that you were doing that.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. We played
wow.
some clubs
I
as well.
wondered-
Honestly, some of the places we played, extraordinary.
Yeah.
You know, we were,
Student, like uni bars.
yeah, all that,
Uni bars,
yeah. And oh my goodness, but it was exciting. You know, I think the only thing I haven't sort of done, which I'm open to to have a job, is circus. You know, I've done, you know, clubs and, you know, pub work or whatever it is, you know, loads of theatre tours and stuff, but never actually performed in a circus, which would be quite, anyway, that's just by and by. But
what about a pop song? I mean,
well, we did, well, we sort of had a pop song. We did a remix of the Rainbow theme, and we were on Top of the Pops, and we came, I think, 13th or something like that in the hit parade. But I mean, we were in the studio, you know, with all those kids and doing the whole thing. It was great fun and lovely, and light entertainment. It was great fun. We had lovely sort of little freebies given to us in the dressing room, and you know, it was a delight. It was a delight.
There's lots of connections that people sort of don't know between you two, because we're revealing everything. I mean, the Tweenies were pop stars on Top of the Pops, as was Rainbow. The story you told just a moment ago, Ronnie, made me think. I had a podcast the other week with a lady called Liz Fost, who of course you'll both know from Playdays.
Yeah.
Because Ronnie also worked on Playdays, Puppeteering.
Yeah.
For
Lizzie. Yeah.
And she said to me she'd worked on a bunch of GMTV programs that were to be broadcast all over the world. And they didn't really take off. And the story you said about, you know, Jeffrey and all of those people moving made me think about the series Mole in the Hole.
Oh, yeah.
When you close your eyes, you're thinking, okay, now all I can hear is Rainbow.
Yeah.
It was literally the whole cast just saying, well, here we still are standing and wanting to do kids television. It was quite funny to see.
Yeah, I was always a bit sad when I eventually saw it, because I was obviously doing other things.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh dear, you know, they're different puppets, different characters, but the voices and the whole sort of thing. Jeffrey was still the sort of father figure, you know, and it wasn't terribly good, sadly. But it wasn't their fault, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure it was a lot of circumstances.
Sort of saying, we're still here and we still want to do
that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So yes, and as Ronnie always says, Colleen, that, you know, he strongly feels that Jeffrey, as you probably saw watching the Rainbow episodes, that he was a fantastic character actor, playing out all of these roles. And what he really wanted to do was to break into the world of acting, but he never really got the chance to do that.
No, it was basically because I think, again, you know, it's very difficult. He was married. He'd got a small son while he was doing Rainbow. Obviously, Rainbow was paying all the bills, but also helping, you know, all the rest of the stuff. And when it did come to an end, it was a case of sort of thinking, well, actually, now I can go back to my acting. But sadly, his face was so well known as Jeffrey from Rainbow that he didn't get all the work, and that was so silly for me as far as I was concerned, because you know, in Rainbow he did loads of wonderful characters. You know, when I'm trying to think, he played the Joker in one of the Rainbow episodes, and you know, the makeup and the whole thing was brilliant. He's played funny old men, all sorts of fabulous characters. And you know, it was just I think it was a little remiss of directors, you know, to say, well, it's just your face. I mean, makeup, you know, you can do an awful lot with makeup to hide your image, if you like. But anyway, there you are. That was sadly that was the case with Jeffrey.
So associated with the program, But what about theatre? Did Jeffrey, you know, do very much theatre?
Well, not really. I mean, they did the Rainbow tours when the Thames finished, and he did lots of panto as much as he could, but that sort of died out, you know, eventually. I haven't got all the years right, but I know that he did a few commercials. He did a couple of programs. There was one he did where it was you know, Where Are They Now, or something like that.
Of course.
And I thought that was terribly sad. I felt terrible. I was on tour with Dr. Dolittle or something at the time when that came out, and somebody said, oh, it's going to be out next Sunday. So I thought, all right, I'll watch it. And there he was looking through his scrapbooks, and there was pictures of Rainbow and all the different things. And I thought, oh, and he, you know, he hadn't had much work really,
Didn't
and
he
I just
do
felt
Cars
that
as
was
well,
a bit
Ronnie?
sad.
Didn't Jeffrey appear in Z Cars as well?
Yes, he did. That was his first sort of television break. I mean, he was
Right.
an actor in Rep. I mean, he started, I
Yes.
think, in Dundee Rep years and years
Was,
ago. And really, did like everybody in Rep. You did a different, well, sometimes 3 plays a week. Or so you rehearse, one on stage, rehearsing another or whatever. And so he, done a lot of stuff. And then Z Cars came up, and he did that, and he had a few, quite a good reviews and stuff for that. But then, Rainbow came along, and he had to sort of think, oh well, I'll try this, and the rest was history. Really.
It's a lot of I've had this conversation with people. No one goes to. I went to drama school for 3 years, and I did Chekhov plays, Ibsen. We did promenade productions of Richard III, Macbeth. We did comedies by Noel Coward, Edward Bond. Dramas. No one really goes, but what I really want to do is children's theatre and children's television. No one said that when you're doing all those great works at drama school. But of course, the work comes, and you just want to work because you want to be an actor and you want to be on stage. Yeah. So you go for everything. In the early 90s, that's when it was the stage. That's where I got all my jobs from, handwritten letters,
Yeah.
It wasn't Spotlight then, and now emailing, and you don't send copies anymore. You just email a photo of yourself, if you want to independently. But you fall into the world, and then of course then you're paying your bills and you're earning money, and then you're in that world, and it's great as well. But yes, it has its downfalls then with trying to get other work,
absolutely. You can get typecast, and I think that was the problem with Jeffrey. He was Jeffrey on Rainbow, that face.
Really
and even until the day he passed away, I remember all the news bulletins were referencing him as, well, Rainbow's Jeffrey has died, rather than the actor Rainbow. Jeffrey from Rainbow has died, which was very sweet, because everybody remembered him as he was just like Jeffrey from Rainbow, and that was lovely. But I guess for him, we could sort of wanted to break out. But anyhow, we're going to move on to show you some stuff, people. As you can see, we're going to come on to everything Tweenies in a moment for Colleen, as well as we've been talking a lot of Rainbow. You can see that. I'm going to start off by showing you something that I have here as we're talking about Rainbow. Look at this, Ronnie. This is Rod.
Wow.
Ready?
Yes.
So I've had this for a number of years. It's a sing-along with the threesome in a winter... Oh, I said that in the wrong way. In a winter wonderland. So this dates back, I think, from 1991. That's, I think, when they branched out and decided they wanted to do their own...
That's right. That may have been taken from the stage show. They did, once they sort of left Rainbow, they started Thames offered them their own program, Rod, Jane and Freddie program, which they did. And then, of course, they went on to do stage tours for a very long time. And I think that might have been taken from a stage show. But, terribly successful. It was great.
Absolutely, yes. They had an audience of children there as well. What about this book, Ronnie? Talk to me about this book that I have here, Rainbow.
Oh, how funny. I've got some books, but I've got Rainbow albums, not that one. But Rainbow Unzipped was basically, that came out a lot late. That came out, I think, after the series had finished. And it was one of the, I don't know whether it was a Thames writer, but it was a writer who sort of did it in a way for adults who had been brought up with Rainbow, and tried to make sort of comparisons with the politicians and the actors of the day. So there were pictures which were sort of photoshopped with, for instance, I can't remember, maybe it was George with Margaret Thatcher or something, and Zippy with somebody else, and all this sort of stuff. There was a tiny bit in there of the story of Rainbow, how it started with us all. And there's actually a very nice picture of myself, Roy and Malcolm, who were the puppeteers on the program for quite a long time. And yes, look at that woman's weekly job.
That's so funny.
It was full of stuff like that.
It was written by Randall, this book. Tim Randall.
That's right. That's it. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We did some photo
a comical look at the characters. Bungle and George.
Oh yeah. Well, that was actually on the program. It was about, I think it was a program we did I don't know, it was called, you know, what we'd like to do, perform. And Bungle wanted to be a ballet dancer. Oh dear.
Oh, yes, I remember that. I remember the tutu. I remember Bungle wearing a tutu.
I know, it was hilarious.
Yes.
I mean, any time that Bungle dressed up, it was just a laughable situation. And people always said, why did Bungle, you know, walk about naked? And yet when he went to the jungle or when he went to the garden, he wore his trousers. Or when he went camping, we did an outside broadcast camping program, and he wore the shorts and that. It's just a giggle, really. It was for fun. And he did look funny with all the stuff on.
And there is Georgina and Zippo there as well.
Oh yes, there you are, Georgina. You see, they're all made up, all these amazing characters.
Yeah.
But we did I think we did a couple of days of, you know, doing photos for that book. So it was quite funny.
Brilliant. I just want to show you a picture in this book if I can. It's quite funny. Oh, Zippy, look at that.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh gosh.
Oh.
So yes,
very thorough.
Yeah,
very much so.
One book that I have here that isn't necessarily balanced, but it's a book that came back in the 80s. Are these two books here?
Yes.
There we go. So these are two little children's books.
Like the Ladybird books.
Yeah. They're the stories, aren't they? I think because there was Rainbow Stories, and they probably, you know, there was so much stuff at one time. I mean, when we first started the program, there was nothing, you know, mostly during the Thames days, and we kept saying, well, you know, the audiences are getting quite big. They're wanting to have stuff, and eventually they got themselves together, and there was some puppets and stuff like that. Not terribly good of the puppets. I hate to say, sorry, Rainbow people, but and then of course it all went mad with the nostalgia thing. When we started doing our student union gigs, they needed stuff to sell because they used to have a person with all the stuff on that, you know, to sell to the students. And so there were mugs, there was, well, I've got all sorts. I don't know whether this is a time to show you, but look at this hideous mug here. This was a Zippy mug, but it's a bit unusual. So I'll go. Have you seen? And that's for the biscuits, by the way. That's what I was told.
I love that mug.
Yeah. And then, you know, you put the tea and stuff in there. And then there was another, I mean,
for Rainbow
this
now.
is another one. I quite like this one, the teapot.
I've seen that as well. Yeah.
And that's lovely. Yeah, they're still, you know, and you can pour your tea. This is a lovely cup.
I can't believe that merchandise.
Yes. I mean, still today you can buy Rainbow stuff online.
Yeah, you can get them all online. I mean, it is extraordinary. And
I mean, I brought this bag recently.
Oh, lovely.
Which says, you know, I'm really very clever.
Yeah, very good.
Extra. Well, you know, there was little dolls of Zippy and George and Bungle, but there were big ones. This is just a small one.
Yeah,
I've got downstairs. I was given by one of the ladies from Fremantle this huge Zippy thing. I mean, I can't even. I mean, it was really big, like a stuffed doll thing. And I said, I can't take that home on the train or whatever it was. Anyway, I wrapped it all. Anyway, I've still got it. My grandchildren love it. So that's all right. Yeah.
Those little ones you just showed me, Ronnie, I had 3 of them, Bungle, George and Zippy, but they were all dressed in night clothes. So they had their gowns on.
Oh, right. Okay. This one is just, you know, I think it's a key ring or something. I don't know what they say.
Rainbow symbol on the bottom of it as well.
Yeah, they had, where are we? Oh, sorry, not holding this very well. But, you know, there was a picture, that was a key ring. And then it was all with the, you know, and that was quite nice with Zippy. So it's just
I couldn't, unfortunately, find any videotapes, but I did find a DVD that I had, which made me chuckle because recently Ronnie did a little clip on my YouTube channel for CITV as it was closing, and on the back of this DVD has the episode Zippy in Love, which is the episode that you talked about, because Zippy fell in love with CITV's Debbie Shaw. So that made me chuckle to see that again. I thought that was very good.
That's brilliant.
Yes, yeah. And Zippy in the 90s was all over the adverts for Marmite as well, wasn't it?
Oh my goodness, yes. In fact, they brought out a little Zippy with a Marmite t-shirt on.
Yes, that's right.
And you know, you either loved it or hated it. And it was only I think it was less than 30 seconds, but Roy did the voice, and I remember having to record the zip noise, because they, you know, what basically what happened was I can't stand not rainbow, I can't stand Marmite or something like that. I hate it. And I think he zipped himself up in that particular advert. But oh yes, that was great.
Very cleverly done as well. They used the tagline, "My mate Zippy."
Ah, yes.
Yes, which was very good, very funny indeed. The only other thing I have before you show us yours, Ronnie, is this image that I have from the lovely Faye Bainbridge, who's a beautiful illustrator. And I get these illustrations sent to me every time I do a podcast. I'm yet to get one from the Tweenies, I must.
Was that a hint? I think it might
I think it was. So yes, but I've this was sent to me. It's a lovely, lovely picture.
Yeah, it is lovely, actually.
Illustrator. Yeah.
My mum used to call me Zippy because I was very chatty as a 4, 5, 6-year-old. You know, my mum used to say, "Oh, I wish you had a zip." You know, that's horrible, isn't it, really? I was telling her I was doing this, and I said, "Do you remember you used to call me Zippy? Quiet, Zippy." You know, because I was always talking.
Yeah.
I've just got the last thing because I don't want to, you know, completely. This is the Rainbow Annuals. This was the very first Rainbow Annual that came out, and I think that was in 1980. It does say that there.
1980.
And but in 1981, I got the 1981 one. Inside there was a picture of the whole of the cast and the sort of crew at that time, and I'm just going to quickly show you. This was before Freddie joined. Now, I hope.
Oh, wow.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
I'm in the back there. Sorry, it's a rather.
No, I can see that.
Right. Oh, that's.
So I'm wearing a red top.
And is that Paul Cole?
It might be. Sorry, I can't see the picture and hold the thing up. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow.
Brilliant.
There was sound guys. That was when Roger Walker was one of the singers. So before Freddie joined.
It's Roger and
Roy is there sitting there. I think Valerie, who was one of the puppeteers or puppeteered with me for a while, was sitting. I think she's sitting on Roy Skelton's lap. So Roy was doing the voices there.
Yes, there you go. Yeah.
And we've got a dresser there who used to dress Laurence Olivier. I remember him saying, terribly sweet, dressing Bungle. I said, "Oh, it's a bit of a come down," but
yes, that picture
anyway.
words. It really does of how tight you were as a family, as they say. But
it was really nice. They said, "Oh, we've got, you know, the next Rainbow. It'd be nice to show all the people involved." And at that, so that was cameraman. There was sound guys on that.
Really special, Ronnie, because you're making children's TV and successfully.
Yeah.
It must have felt
lovely.
Really amazing to be a part of that team. Yeah. So you've showed us a lot of your Rainbow stuff. We've got a few bits of Sooty as well that you also collected over the. I see behind you. You've got lots of videotapes there.
Oh my goodness, that is my collection of Rainbow stuff. Not just Rainbow. I mean, I tried to get every one. Do you know? I mean, as a member of the program, they did not give us one free. I had to buy them in the shops. So I mind you, I was being paid. I mean, well for telly at that time, so I didn't mind.
Was it? Yes.
But I'm certainly, I haven't got any Sooty stuff with me at the moment to show you.
Well,
I'm very naughty.
I can show you very quickly before we go on to Colin. I've got a little sweet Skype.
Oh, sweet.
Ages, because I know you puppeteered him. He's got the little button as well. He's lovely, and he's been through the wars. Has Sweep. He's wonderful.
Oh well,
I've got
some of mine have
DVD that was released a few years ago when it was Richard Cadell found a load of old episodes from the Harry Corbett era, and you recently did a screening of them in front of an audience last year, which was amazing.
That's right, in Birmingham, in the Midlands Arts Centre.
Yes,
that was lovely because Matthew called in. Yeah, he couldn't make it, Matthew, but he called in. It was funny, on my mobile. I was walking down through the audience because the reception was terrible in the hall for the mobile. And I was saying, "Yes, Matthew, well, I'm actually talking to you, but your audience is waiting to talk back." And so we put it against the microphone. So he had a nice chat, which was lovely, actually, and a very nice director producer from the Sooty days, which I didn't work on but it was in Manchester, and he was able to come down. We did try to get the original director from the Harry Corbett days, producer, Reg Hill, his name, and he's 90 something, 94 or 5 or something, and he couldn't make it, bless him. And we did try to get him on the mobile, but it didn't quite work. But there we are.
I have the last couple of bits before we move on to Colin. I have this very old VHS tape when they were in.
Oh yeah.
Places. I'm sure you'll have a rainbow one that's very similar to this.
I have indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I had one like this for Rainbow, which I think was called Rainbow Goes Camping, and it was a case like this. This is called Sooty's Time Capsule, and it's very rare. It's from 1988. And that's what I found. And also I have one called The Adventures of Sooty from Thames Video Collection.
Oh, lovely.
There we go. They were also producers of Rainbow 2, weren't they?
Yeah. Lovely.
My daughters are big fans of Sooty.
Yeah.
Well, I took them, I was trying to find a photograph, to see a live show when they were little, when they were sort of 4 and 6. And was it Richard then? Was it Richard?
It might have been in late 80s. I'm trying to think
1998
when
Richard joined.
Oh, sorry. There you go.
I mean, this was like 10 years ago or something. I took them to see the live show. But yeah,
is that the one you're talking about?
It may have been that one. Yeah, we went to see a live show. They were on tour with it, and I bought the puppets. I've got them upstairs.
Right. And there you go. And there's
I didn't know that you puppeteered Sooty
as well. Yeah.
That's it.
That was because Matthew was on the programme, and then when Harry had his rather serious heart attack, Matthew decided to take over, keep it in the family sort of thing, and he was working sweep during the previous series, and said, "Look, Ronnie, would you be free to do it?" And I went, I'm not going to turn it down. I saw Harry as a kid myself, so I was like thrilled, and it was also all on location, and most of it was. So we did lots of filming with. I've got pictures in my book, of the Sooty thing. Sorry, I'm dropping this hint about this book, which you can still buy. But there's that's Matthew there, and you can't really see me, but I'm standing there holding 2 of Sooty and Sweet there, rock climbing, and then there's a rather over the top picture of me with. I've forgotten I've got sunglasses on.
That's a good photo.
A bit starry. So that was quite a nice. Oh, that was. I'm sorry. There's another one with Matthew.
Oh,
sorry, it's a bit blurry. And that actually the other puppeteer,
Ronnie, that since you released the book, people are starting to recognise you more, because I remember an interview you did with Christine Lampard, and she was that was on the Lorraine show, and she was very much in awe of you as Colleen was. She was in awe, sitting there thinking, I'm now talking to Zippy. Yes, she's married to a footballer.
I know. No, I don't. I'm quite lucky because the book cover, you see, if people only see that. You can only see
that's the
my
point.
mouth, which is quite. I like that idea because it's, Zippy being the know-all. He put his hand over. It's not all about you. It's about and I like that. And and also I wasn't totally visible, but a few more people. I suppose a few people, but not really. I'm
been offered
still
more
quiet.
Podcasts. Lots of them, and you.
Oh, I know.
Fantastic, right, Colleen. Let's go to you now.
Please, yes.
Got so much.
Mine doesn't seem as vintage now, you see. I love seeing those annuals.
Absolutely.
Always got
You
annuals.
seem to have a lot more than I could find, because I can show you now in 2 seconds. The only things that I could find was this Toy Box Annual from 2006, which has a picture of.
Okay.
I don't know how I come across that. And also this videotape that I actually got when I went to see the Tweenies live for the very first time.
Right. Brilliant.
So that was the London tape there, and the Times have quoted that the show was brilliant. So there we go. Featuring the smash hit #1 from Top of the Pops, of course. So Zippy's not the only one that's
No, we weren't #1. No, number 13. We got to 13.
I love the song, but not the rainbow.
You can take a bow there, Colleen, because you topped the charts. There we go.
Well,
Absolutely.
we did get to #1. The song was called #1.
Right.
But we did get to #6.
Well,
So that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
absolutely.
And, that was brilliant. Love doing the albums, and especially the first album. It was very, very exciting for all of us.
It was back in the days, Ronnie, when somebody like Jake could sing about bananas and get away with singing it. Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. Good old Justin. Right, so talk to us about all of the fizzes you have behind us. I can see lots of dolls there.
Lots of dolls, yeah. And okay, so this is a rucksack actually
Right.
version, which is very
cute.
cute. And my daughter, I mean, they obviously the Tweenies wasn't on air anymore when they were, it had already gone off air. So, but then we've got the videos and they've been watching them. And yeah, she used to take this with her to nursery. And obviously no one knew the mums. I didn't say that's me, by the way. I did that voice. But I always found it quite funny that she loved it, so she would take it to nursery, with her. I just want to show this actually because this is really quite special. Tracy Myers, who was our vision mixer on Tweenies, she was also an artist, and we filmed at Elstree Film Studios, and Radlett would often, a community centre in Radlett would show artwork, of local artists, and quite a few times she had her art displayed there, and we would go straight from work and go to the centre in Radlett. But she presented all of us Tweenies with one of these, and it's hand drawn.
So gorgeous.
Yeah, so it's beautiful,
Lovely.
isn't it? And she framed them for us as well. So that was a really lovely present, really unique, very, very talented. Yeah.
We have to say, as well as voicing Fizz, you also voiced Izzles as well, so we must mention that too.
I did, and I did. She was sort of the female version of Doodles.
Yes.
I basically did an impersonation of Justin doing Doodles. Yeah, that's what I did.
He was the inspiration. His voice was the inspiration for that, was it? Yeah.
It was. I had a dog actually, but I did give her away. But I couldn't prize her away off the small fan that came to visit once, and so I lost my talking.
Your heart just went. Yeah, it happens. Yes. So,
these are these sort of original dolls.
Brilliant.
But I must show you one that somebody brought me back from their holiday in Portugal. So I think you can see that it's
oh, look at that! It's like the original prototype.
Yeah. Slightly more sort of stitched, version. I think she's been on a bit of a diet.
Yes, I know the face.
But I thought that was quite funny actually. But...
What I found funny, Colleen, is when you said, "Oh, my daughter walks about with her rucksack, but nobody knows it's a secret that I'm Fizz." It's like it made me laugh when Emma said on our podcast that, well, I do a weekly class to children and we sing, "How do you feel today?" and "Gonna build a house," but nobody knows that I was Bella who sang that. I just sing the songs. It's incredible.
Exactly. I think it sort of doesn't really occur to you in the end.
It doesn't.
I mean, I work with children as well, doing songs, and it doesn't really occur to me to tell them.
No, exactly.
Because it won't really mean that much to them because they don't know of the Tweenies.
No,
different generation, isn't it? Really,
absolutely.
Yeah. Exactly. And I also got this. We got presented. Well, you can't really see it very well, but we got presented this by. Can you see it there? It's Swarovski made them pendant. It says the Tweenies on the back. I think I need to put a bit of Brasso on it or something. But it says the date, and it's got the Tweenie clock there in the middle. And we all got presented one of those by the producers when we finished the run.
Right.
Of course, I've got my mug here. And again, my children had their hot milk in this.
I had a plate that was in the shape of the Tweenie clock.
Oh, did you?
It was incredible how much, I mean, the companies behind it put all the merchandise out for the Tweenies. It just went berserk, didn't it?
It went crazy. This is actually a karaoke doll, and I did buy some batteries to put in her, but I'm afraid they didn't work. I think I haven't tried to operate her for about 15 years. They were a bit rusty, the ones I took out.
Right.
The
good thing is you can replace her voice. You can still do it.
But there were all sorts of songs. It was like, thank you very much. It was really all those poppy kind of songs. But when I went along to do the recordings for the karaoke doll, they actually did send me 4 dolls in the post in this enormous box. That was really kind of them. And they sort of said, "Oh, would you like one?" And I said, "I'd love one. I really appreciate that. Thank you." I said, "Because I've got 2 young nieces, you know, and they would love them." And she said, "Oh, well, we will. But they sent me 4. So
Yeah,
that was very kind of them. And I did dish them out and keep one for myself.
I don't know whether you've noticed, Ronnie, but Fizz's voice is quite off the decibel. So every time Colleen tries to do it, it goes.
Oh, yeah. You probably didn't hear that, did you? I know.
Well, yes, she had to answer in her Tweenie voice when we did a quiz before, and it was like, I'm just going to stick to Izzles because she's a lot lower.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can see behind you, there's so much there, Colleen. You've got videotapes and DVDs.
There were obviously, sorry. Oh, sorry, Jake.
It's all right.
T-shirts and pajamas. There's so much, and I did, you know, I did acquire these things, and I can't. These are in my bag. I can't give them away up in the loft for my grandchildren. I guess I'm saving them, much to my other half's like chagrin. He's like, "Why are we saving all this stuff?" Grandchildren, obviously.
Yeah, there's no sentimental value there at all. It's just for the kids.
Yeah, ready to play Songtime DVD. Yeah, I mean, I've got, and CDs, obviously. Puppeteering. I'm sure you must have this one, Sean.
Yeah, I did. That was the top of the pops one, wasn't it?
Yeah. Puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle as well. Of course, doodles, because.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, Doodles is lovely. Yeah. Voiced by Mr. Tumble.
Yeah, and this, I think another one up there I've got is of the, you know, the games we used to do. I think I spoke about that when we last spoke, they were kind of endless, the games, because you had to go right, left, oops. It was just pages and pages and pages of, because for a game, you know.
Yeah.
It was fun, exciting, and I was very lucky.
Yeah. You've got so much there. I think Bob's going to be very envious of all the stuff you've got there. He's like, I want to show my kids, and I haven't got anything. Bob played Milo at Ronnie in the Tweenies.
No.
Oh yes, lovely.
Yeah, but it's incredible how even today with Rainbow in particular, it appeals to more of an adult audience now, that when they look back, like for instance, this bag that was made, they make it now for the sort of novelty aspect of it for folks that grew up with it. So a lot of it now is it's made for kids, for adults rather, and it's the same with the Tweenies. You go online and you can see all of these memes and all of these T-shirts that are still getting printed. It's incredible after all these years, and you know, you've got to remember that Rainbow ran for an incredible long time, as did the Tweenies run for an incredibly long amount of time as well, because it was constantly repeated on the BBC afterwards.
Yeah, digital. Yeah, digital.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I've just found another picture. Sorry, I wanted to show it to you. That's Zippy with Hacker the dog. So he's up to date in a way that he's met Hacker. Hacker came to my house, so they took a picture, and that's quite a nice one.
That's lovely.
So he's waiting there.
He's meeting the next generation.
Yeah, he's meeting the next generation of puppets.
He's very current, you know, Hacker. So Zippy's in there, you know.
Yeah, yes, exactly, yes. And Zippy very much so. And he performed, talking of songs, he performed with Basil Brush, didn't he?
Oh yes, that was the Christmas video. That was lovely. That was a charity video that he did. He hoped it would be #1. I don't think it quite got there, but there was everybody, loads of puppets. There was Mr. Blobby, there was Zippy, George and Bungle. Right. Oh my goodness, there was Muffin the Mule. I had Muffin, did a little bit of Muffin there. Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm going to be awful. I think we had a bit of Sooty and Sweep. I can't remember. Yeah. But so we had lots of different sort of iconic puppet people on that. And also we did the Children in Need one, which was great. Yeah. Because Children in Need had I had such fun on that, because they asked me to do Zelda from Terrorhawks, you know, the Wicked Witch. Right. Yes. And I thought, I'm working this puppet. I've never done that. Also, I did one of the Thunderbird characters, because it was a string puppet. So yeah, as well as doing Zippy and a few other. Oh, and Muffin on that as well. Yeah. So
Kay did the Amarillo, and he was.
Oh yes, yes,
Zippy
that's
and
right.
That's
Yeah, that was with
Yeah.
I think Jeffrey was in that, wasn't
He
he?
was.
And Bungle. I'm not sure. I don't know whether Zippy and George, because they were walking. He was walking down a corridor, and I think it would be difficult for us to do the puppets, but it was lovely. It was a great song, and people do remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the first time a lot of younger people were actually introduced to that song in particular. So it goes to show how powerful things can be. And you know, Peter Kay's done a lot with children's TV as well.
Oh yeah,
he's done incredible with that. Yeah, and also I also think it's important with, you know, what you both do, that this generation of children remember, you know, the generation before them and what children's television was. And one of the things that interested me, Ronnie, about Rainbow is that a lot of people say, well, we sort of have the Sesame Street era to thank for the likes of Rainbow even being about.
Well, that's true. I mean, originally, I think Sesame Street started, I think, in 1969, if I've got the date right. And it was originally taken up by Channel 4, I think, on a Saturday morning, and they played it for a bit. But what happened was the original series, or not the original, but some of the series, the sort of education people that, or the educators of our children, sort of wrote into Channel 4 and said, look, it's lovely, we love the characters, but there's a lot of spellings that are spelt different in America. Some of the pronunciations are different. We don't have sidewalks, we have pavements, you know, all this sort of stuff. And so they sort of said, well, why can't, you know, independent telly, or, you know, make their own preschool programs? And that's where Rainbow started. I mean, it began, as I say, in 1972, but previous to that, you know, they had a whole lot of sort of research, and Pamela Lonsdale went to the Little Angel Theatre where I was working at the time, and you know, asked if they, you know, they could make the puppets for her for this up and coming new preschool program. John Wright, who was the founder director, decided it wasn't his sort of thing, but Violet Philpott, who was the original puppeteer, also made the original Zippy, looking a little bit different to the one that you see today. But anyway, so that started, and then of course all the other independent companies took over. I mean, there was Hickory House, there was Mr. Trimble, there was Pipkins, of course, there was all sorts of other companies doing their, you know, preschool programs. So yeah, no, that was the story of how I think that's, you know, the whole idea of preschool programming in this country started, was the Sesame Street influence, in a sense.
Rainbow paved the way for that. You had Fizz in your hand there, waiting very patiently, Colleen.
I'm just trying to sit her up a little bit.
Oh, I see. Which Fizz is that? That's quite a large Fizz there. I can see.
That's the karaoke Fizz. Yeah.
Oh, the karaoke Fizz. Yeah. So so I can see also at the very back there you have some shoes.
Some shoes? No, I think they're that's another Fizz. That's
I see. Oh, I see. Right.
That's
okay.
the Fizz from the rugs.
Oh, I see. Right.
Yeah,
okay.
I do. You know, I mean, I have got a few Fizzes, haven't I?
Yeah, because they made them in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, as did they do for Rainbow. I remember you showing me before, and you had a little Zippy on a stick.
Yes, I've got a small Zippy, is about this size.
Yeah.
And he's got legs. And we did 2 episodes, I think, or maybe 3. One of them, the first one, was Rumpelstiltskin.
Right.
And I thought it would be lovely to have a little Zippy wandering about in the woods. And Jane, with her sort of a lantern, came across and heard Rumpelstiltskin saying, Rumpelstiltskin's my name, you know, sort of thing.
Yes, yeah.
And we had legs on him, and it was quite sweet. And John Thurtle, who made the Zippy here, also made the little Zippy. And what's very funny is people, when they see the one with legs, say, oh, you know, he's got legs. I say, well, of course he has. And then I say, well, I choose not to show them when he does the, and all this sort of thing, which is quite nice. Yes, I'd forgotten. Yes, he was in, I think it was the, you know, the gingerbread story where we did a sort of version with the Zippy Man, and he ran out of the oven or whatever, and we used the little one for that.
Those episodes when they reenacted a story, You know,
Yeah, they were always fun
the
to
sets
do.
were incredible for the time, for the 70s. Were just
Yeah.
so vibrant. It was like you were going into the theatre and actually watching a real life pantomime. It was incredible to see.
Yeah. Oh, they were such fun to do. I mean, to be honest, I mean, when you got sort of, there's the sort of we always had an educational officer,
Yeah.
Stephanie Connell. She was always there making sure that we had round nose scissors and no glass, you know, because kids shouldn't have. And so, and they were a real pain to cut. Poor Jeffrey, you know, trying to cut, make and do's with the round nose scissors. Anyway, we won't go in there. But no, it was the stories were lovely because again, it gave Jeffrey a chance to dress up. You know, in character, and the musicians were always dressed up in lovely stuff as well. And sometimes Roy, you know, himself appeared in it.
Yeah.
And sometimes even Stanley as Stanley appeared in a couple of episodes. I did in a couple as well. I mean, usually at the back somewhere.
Yes.
But I mean, I was there. You know, I did we did a one called Fast Food. Sorry, I'm hogging this limelight.
No, it's fine.
But Fast Food was a show, and they said, "Oh, we'll have the puppets sitting at the table." Or so, "Oh no, well, we can't have Zippy and George in." I said, "Oh yes, we can. We can work the puppets and have them sort of the table can cover the naughty bits, as it were, and we can be there and we can accept the, you know, the food." And that's what we did. So Malcolm and I were in that one. I mean, you have to pause the tape to see our heads a little bit, but we were there. And also I was in a lift, coming out of a lift, loads, you know, more and more, I think the programme was called.
On Tweenies, actually, when the location episodes on a bus journey, you know, so we were on the bus.
As passengers, sort of thing.
As passengers, and people would get phoning me up or texting me going, "I think I saw you on the bus."
I think you had a photo shoot on the bus, didn't you? You were dressed up in these sort of silver outfits.
What do you mean? That was the Tweenies, I think, wasn't it? The Tweenies were dressed up, but us voices, we got to be in some episodes sometimes, like just walking past, or you know, so quick, let's have you in. We need some people walk.
Yes, it always helps. It's quite funny whenever I watch Sooty and I sort of see Brenda Longman just appearing and thinking, you're Sue, and then all of a sudden you're just in the crowd or you're playing.
I appeared in a couple of them. An ice cream shop vendor. I was queuing up with a whole lot of extras. It was quite, because actually Richard loves you too, Richard Cadell, as well as Matthew. But I did a Richard you know, series. There's a new one. Well, I say a new one. It was made, I think, last year, but it's not yet out yet, but it will be coming out. And I did the one before that, and I played Sue, as it happened, not voicing. Obviously, lovely Brenda was voicing it, but we were always asked to do stuff. So queuing up in the ice cream shop, I did another thing where I was in the fun fair, because it was set in the theme park, the whole series, and I was sitting, and in fact, one of the props guys was sitting next to me, and I get up and I buy a couple of ice creams or something. I can't remember, you know, this sort of thing. But no, it is quite funny, really.
Yeah. Colleen, so Ronnie was talking about rounded scissors and making stuff earlier on, and as the Tweenies did very well in most episodes, they would make a lot of things. It was very varied, the series Tweenies, wasn't it?
Well, of course, the Tweenies, the guys that were in the skin artists, they had these enormous latex gloves. So they really did struggle having to you know, glue things and make things, you know, stick, but they would do those separately. So they would just do the hands. They wouldn't be wearing, they were fortunate enough to remove their heads and just, you know, have the gloves on, and they would then film, you know, sticking, folding down a corner, and so they would do that separately, which I think was very kind of them, and to not make them wear. So they would do cutaways, they were called. Cutaways. So
I do get in trouble with my viewers for all of these stories. They go, "Oh, now look, we're watching it, and all of a sudden we know all the secrets." It's like, it's wonderful all the that plays out. What's your favorite item there, Colleen? Behind you, do you have a favorite?
No, I hate this question. Well, I do. I mean, the bigger the better, really. I love big fins. She's my biggest fins.
Yeah.
So I love her.
Is that the biggest fizz they made?
I think this is the biggest one. Yeah, it's the biggest one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love my doodles, of course, doodles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I had to take a plaster off his ear. I could left it on because my daughters used to do, pet hospital. So
Oh, right.
put the cuddly toys. I mean,
Yeah.
Sooty and Sweet had plasters on them
Yeah.
because, and you can't get them off the fur. It's quite difficult to get them off.
Mm.
But yeah, I think my big fear is because she's karaoke as well, and I'm determined to try and get her going again.
Get this going again. You can still do the voice. Get her going once more. What about you, Ronnie? I know you've got a lot of. I'm going to ask
wow.
a specific one first.
Oh gosh.
You,
I mean, I do quite like this teapot. It's a bit silly,
yeah,
but it's quite fun. You can almost
very novelty. Yeah.
But I've never used it. Bless it's all workable. I've got. Sorry, say that again.
I like the mug.
Oh yeah, isn't it strange? I mean, that's big
very
mouth,
recent,
and they said it was for the biscuit to be placed in.
Yes, I love that.
There's some ordinary mugs
clever.
as well. A bit more like the picture of Zippy on, and one of George and stuff. I don't know. Oh gosh, I think probably the teapot, but I'm very lucky. I've still got the puppet, which is lovely, and I still use him, so he's still around.
Absolutely.
I like the little Zippy.
I can't help but staring at him, thinking he's just sitting there.
I know, he's just sitting there.
Expecting him to move.
Yes, I know. Yes.
There he is. Hello. Sorry, he's on a stand on my bed. He's going to fall over in a minute. He's on my bed. He's going But
what happened to the hands?
I love the little
hands.
Well, it's a separate hand.
Yeah.
And it was, people said, "Oh, we didn't know that," when I show them when I'm doing a talk or something, and I put the puppet on, and then I do the separate hand, and they all go, "Oh, I thought it was joined," and I think, "Well, thank you very much." I tried to make it look as though it was joined in.
Well, because you've only got two hands, so you can't.
Exactly, I can't. I mean, if we have his other hand, it's the other puppeteer will do. The right hand or left hand.
That's why George was always sort of limp with one hand, and everybody the other way. But it's not the case. It's as simple as that. We should have Zippy introduced to Fizz as well. Now we're going down the generations.
Little conversation. Yeah.
Look at them. They're being introduced. Look, I love it. Zippy's
Maybe I'll get him.
Has Zippy ever watched the Tweenies? I wonder.
I don't think he has. Sorry, you've seen naughty bits of Zippy here. I'm trying to get him on. He's so big for the thing. Hold on, he'll be nearly there. He'll just appear very briefly. Hello, everybody. Oh, hello. Do you know what? There's Fizz there. Hello. Oh, you're a very sweet little girl. Yes. There he is. Oh, she's sweet. Oh, she's kicking her legs. That was lovely. There we go.
So we're going to end on a little a short little game called Sweaty Off the Jetty or Plain on the Train. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read out some answers, and you're going to give me the answer that you feel is correct. So it could be rain or sunshine. It could be, hot or cold. And all you're going to do is tell me what you prefer. So we're going to start. You're going to kick us off, Colleen, and then we'll go to Ronnie's answer. So we are about to play Sweaty on the Jetty or Plain on the Train. So start us off, Ronnie, with stage or screen.
Oh, let's have stage.
Colleen.
Stage.
Okay.
Well.
Chips or mash?
Chips.
Mash.
Okay. Porridge or cornflakes?
Porridge. I like porridge.
Cornflakes. Crunchy.
Okay.
Crunchy.
A nice hot bath or a quick shower?
To be honest, I have a quick shower, to be honest.
Well, I'm more partial to that, but nice hot bath. I mean.
Okay, yeah, you can't beat a night relax in the hot bath, can you? Snow White or Cinderella?
Oh gosh, I think Snow White.
I'll go with Ronnie. Snow White.
Snow White, yeah. Okay, yeah. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Now, my son used to love. I think I'm going to say Star Trek for him because he practically got all the VHS, well, it was VHSs then, you know, all the videos of all of the Star Trek. He loved it. So I'll go for Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek. Yeah, Dr. Spock, all the way.
Yeah.
Across the universe.
Yeah.
There we go. Nights in or nights out, Ronnie? What are you?
Well, actually, I'm more nowadays. I'm extremely old. I have a night in more.
Right.
Can I just say both?
Yeah, actually, both is a good answer. Can I say both too? Because I do go out.
You can live while
Somebody
you're
like
young.
take a cocktail glass.
Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Live while you're young. So if you were to have your nights in, would it be 50 Shades or 40 Winks?
40 winks for me, probably.
40 winks.
40 Winks. So no romantic novels in bed.
Not really. No,
Right.
not for me.
Bed. Yeah. I have to read, even if I'm so tired, I have to just read a bit of a novel.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dallas or Dynasty?
Blimey.
Going back a few years now.
Yeah, we are, aren't we? I think I watched more of Dallas than I did of Dynasty in the end. So Dallas, I think, because that was, I think, the first one, that, you know, with JR and all that sort of thing.
You shot Bobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas. Yeah.
Dallas, yeah, it has to be Dallas. And the last two are quite interesting. You're going to like this, Ronnie. Sooty or Sweep?
Oh, now that's difficult for me. I've worked both of them, but obviously I was terribly touched when I was asked to do Sweep, so I'm going to say Sweep.
Okay.
And Sweep. Yeah.
Sweep.
Yeah, I used to impersonate Sweep, of course. You know.
Yeah. How do you impersonate Sweep?
Well, you can't. I used to do it like a.
I see.
Let's do that.
Just the squeaks. And the last one is going to be the toughest of all, and I don't think Ronnie's going to be able to answer this, but I'm going to say Zippy or George.
I have to say that I'm going to get out of it by saying both.
Oh,
wicked,
I thought you were going to say
wicked.
George.
All right. Well, I mean, I love George, and in fact, I always loved George as a character. I always thought he was terribly sweet. And Zippy, you know, this loud one, of course, is nothing like me. Anyway, but I mean, no, Zip. I suppose I have to say Zippy because, you know, it's a title of my autobiography, so I've got to have.
To be fair, to look at you, Ronnie, we wouldn't be able to tell that you played Zippy.
Oh, you're very kind. That's nice. It's all in the character.
It is.
All in the movement and the
you're that's the opposite. You're so sweet.
Yes. Yes.
Graceful. Zippy all the way. It's got to be Zippy.
Yeah.
George loses again. Never mind.
Oh, bless him.
So naughty. Okay. Yes. Well, that's we've got a little insight into your lives, which has been fantastic. It's been great to pair you both. That is it, people. We've had a great afternoon chatting about all of the merchandise and everything Rainbow, Sooty, and of course the Tweenies and everything in between as well. So I look forward to seeing everybody in the next podcast video. My thanks hugely go to Ronnie Le Drew, who has been an absolute angel on this channel, as has Colleen as well. And don't forget, you can catch the very first podcast that I did with Ronnie if you go all the way back to the very beginning. Can you believe this? Over 2 years ago. It was the pandemic time when we did ours, Ronnie, wasn't it? Yeah, it was the safest thing to do. I was in this little studio, which I call my second home now, and Ronnie was there. It was 4 hours. By the end of it, we were both crossing our legs saying, I need it.
Yes.
And then
where's the loo?
I said to Ronnie, you are more like Zippy than you think you are. It was 4 hours, but it was fantastic. And honestly, it's a great podcast that we did. And you have so much, you have such a back catalogue, you know, even from the days of, you know, the black and white era, Watch with Mother, all of those stuff that you'd worked on. So if you want to see, you know, that podcast, you can do. If you're not a fan of podcasts, don't worry, go and buy the book because it will be in there as well. Now, and he's going to show again. Ting! There we go. That's been well read, that book. Absolutely. And Colleen, thank you for joining us as well. You have been incredible. I mean, you know, pairing you with Ronnie and also doing the Tweenies reunion, which people can watch as well, was incredible because that just took off and everybody thought, well, now this has just suddenly become amazing. We've got everybody in the same room together, which is great. And I'm sure we'll all catch up again very, very soon. Hopefully in the near future, we'll be seeing more of Rainbow. I know we will from Zippy. And hopefully one day we'll see more from the Tweenies as well. And Colleen, although you couldn't hear her on camera, she can still do Viz's voice, although it's so high pitched.
She's in the house. Viz's in the house. Still.
Yeah, she's in the house. You can still do it. And although Izzles is absent, she's still about. She's somewhere in some little girl's room somewhere. You can still find it. What an absolute pleasure it's been to again see you both and pair you both. And that just leaves me. Who should I choose today? I am going to choose Colleen. You are going to tell everybody here why they should watch this podcast starring yourself and Ronnie Le Drew.
Watch this podcast to be enlightened, enthused about Rainbow, the iconic program from my childhood, and Tweenies. I was one of the characters, Viz, and enjoy, and it's introduced by the lovely Sean.
Well, you are very kind indeed. You are very kind. My thanks again go to Ronnie and Colleen. I will see everybody in the next podcast video. Until then, go back home, people, and watch Rainbow and Tweenies back to back. What else have you got to do? Nothing. It's a rainy day, so go and do that. And I will see you all very, very soon. You, Ronnie and Colleen, have been my guests. You have been my blasts from the past in this very special podcast.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.